The content of the Tandem Radio program and website is intended for general information purposes only. It's not designed to provide listeners with specific and personal financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or other advice. The views expressed by show hosts, their guests, and callers are their own and should not be construed in any way as opinions of Tandem Radio or the Bridge FM network.
Here we go!
Good morning and welcome to Tandem Radio Live. This is your host, Glenn DeLakian, here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will take me into glory, says Psalm 73:24. You're listening to the Good News on Business, and just excited to be here today with a topic that is always a moving target. So much going on in it. Next level web marketing, and we have the most expert person I know in the field, Jeremy Skillings, who's the owner of You Could Be Found, and he's going to share some great stuff with us. But I wanted to let you know, if you're listening for the first time, Tandem Radio is all about the good news on business, and we have two basic goals for every show. The first one is to show you God's Word in Scripture and how it applies to your business. God wants to be a part of your life 24/7, not just a part of your personal or church life, but also a part of your business life. And He gives us Word right in the Scripture that can help you on an everyday basis. So our goal is to help you realize that Scripture is just filled with business advice that can help you. In addition, we also, our second goal is to give you something to take to work with you on Monday morning that you can use, and something that's practical and that affects your business in a positive way to give you some real value. So if you're a business owner out there, or you just have an aptitude for business, or maybe you're in ministry and you're trying to learn more about the organizational or business side of ministry, you're listening to the right place here with Tandem Radio. We're here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also check out tandemradio.com. Tandemradio.com is a great resource. It's filled with information. Not only can you listen live to the show there, which many people do, but you can also send your requests and questions about business to info@tandemradio.com. That's info@tandemradio.com. And when you do that, not only do we read about your business and also pray for you for your needs, but we'll also do our best to get back to you with some good insights and direction on how to help you through your challenges in business. So info@tandemradio.com is a great place to send your information. As we do each week, God put scriptures on my heart, and those scriptures are for the specific show for the day, and sometimes they jump right out at you and tie right into the show, and sometimes I wonder, God, what do you have in mind here? But since this is a Holy Spirit-led show, we always end up finding out what God wanted us to achieve here, and it's amazing how He moves people through the things we do. So thank you, Lord, for that. Let's start with our three scriptures today. Ecclesiastes 12:10. The teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. Matthew 20:31. The crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. As I said today, our guest today is Jeremy Skillings, a good friend, but also an expert in the field of SEO. He'll explain what that is in a minute. And also web marketing in general. Since our topic is next level web marketing, I heard Jeremy speak again this week. He's always informative, and he had some new stuff that I said, Jeremy, we got to get you on the show, and you got to share this new stuff with the audience. Jeremy Skillings, good morning, and welcome to Tandem.
Good morning, and thanks very much for having me.
It's always good to have you. And why don't you just update our audience, for those of you who may not have heard Jeremy before. He's been on the show before. But Jeremy, why don't you just give us our audience a little background on yourself?
Sure. I came from the corporate world, worked for a large consulting firm up until 2006 when I decided to start off on my own. And with a background in marketing research from Carnegie Mellon out in Pittsburgh, I just kind of ran with the whole internet marketing thing, and SEO, as you mentioned, which stands for Search Engine Optimization, which really helps people get found when people are searching in Google and Yahoo and Bing and the other search engines out there.
Well, that's great. So you went from college and you actually studied marketing and I guess internet marketing as well, or just marketing in general?
It was more of a focus on marketing research because I'm I'm a little older than some people may think I look like, and the internet was just kind of kicking off back when I was in college. But a lot of market research and analytics and that kind of thing, which really led into sort of feeding what I do now.
And you do it very well, and I want to thank you for being here today. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on your business background, but I'm just curious, what motivated you to transition from corporate to working in your own business?
I had always planned on eventually being my own boss and starting my own business, but the long-term plan was always go try it out in the real world, get the experience, learn the hard thing, make it in New York. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. That type of thing. So that's how it all started, and then I had some with my relationship with God. God, every once in a while, He comes in and He kind of gives you a nudge or even gives you a shove to help you make some decisions. And I was involved in 9/11 back in 2001, and that kind of spurred me to start thinking about things and making steps that a little quicker than maybe I was originally thinking. You kind of get in a rut and you're just doing things, and then it's like, maybe I should follow my dreams. And that really sort of guided the way a little bit, and it all kind of ran from there.
And I know that was an emotional and life-changing experience for you, because I know you were in the towers, and I don't want to get into the details today because we have talked about that before on the show. But it's amazing that God brought you through that, brought you through safely, and I thank Him that He did, because I wouldn't know you if anything else had happened that day. So thank you for Lord for getting Jeremy through that. But there's so much we have to talk about today, especially with all the twists and turns relative to SEO. And if you're a business owner out there and you have a website and you haven't optimized it, you need to talk to somebody like Jeremy, who can make such a difference. And I want to kind of start off with an experience story with you, which you've heard me tell before. I know when we first met, I had heard a million times about SEO, and I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I've had people offer me different deals, and you get those ones on the internet, $49.99 a month, and we'll make you found, whatever. And you had a unique approach. I knew you were a brother in the Lord, and we came to terms on a deal. And I'll never forget the day you called me and said, Glenn, everything should kick in now, and Google, and I'm paraphrasing this, I'm not using the right jargon, I'm sure, but there was a time frame that you had said that once this time frame passed, then Google would recognize us and we should start seeing some results and so forth. And I'll never forget the day you called me and said that morning you called me and said, this is the day, that day we received a phone call from a client who we would have never been in touch with if it wasn't for your SEO work, and I can honestly say that. And matter of fact, they were even out of the state, and we ended up doing $50,000 worth of business with them on the fraction of that we spent with you, fraction. And it was amazing. I mean, I saw the results in one day, and I've been seeing results ever since. So I say that because if you're a business owner out there or are interested in website development and SEO, I know we have a profound expert sitting in front of us. So now that you have your credentials in place, now let's drill you with questions and get some real meat out of you that we can use out there. So you started your own business. You got into this side of the business, which is kind of a unique side of the internet that a lot of people don't know about. Before we actually go there, who were some of the people that motivated you to start your own business or supported you most?
I would say, growing up, my grandfather and I were very, very close, and he was actually a superintendent of a school district. But he was the first guy. I mean, my parents were supportive as well. That was just kind of fed you with that you can be whatever you want, and you can get there. And I think growing up with that in your life, it opens up doors just because your mind isn't close to doing what you want to do. My uncle, my mother's brother, also started his own business, an insurance company, and did really well with it. So I've been surrounded. My sister has her own business. Okay. I've been kind of surrounded by entrepreneurial endeavors for much of my life. So I think that helps push it.
Well, I often tell people who want to start their own business, I say you really have to have the entrepreneurial gene, or else you're not going to make it. And real quick before we come up, because we're coming up on a break already, believe it or not, what does You Can Be Found do? That's your company. You went out, you started it, you've been building it ever since. What do they actually do, in a nutshell?
Sure. What we do is we get you customers that wouldn't normally know about you. We focus on your website and go out and give Google sort of the blend of what they need to get you to rank highly. So when people search for the services or products that you offer, you get found by other people. There are other programs that we can do like Google pay-per-click and that kind of thing that can help as well if maybe your website isn't situated well for the natural, as they call it, search engine optimization. But there's all sorts of plans we can put together to help you get found and help you, as you mentioned, get clients from people that may have never heard of you before. If they already know about you, then they're going to come to you anyway. But our goal is to get you out there to people who've never heard of you.
Well, and you do it very well. So you can be found is the name of your company, and of course, if you go on tandemradio.com, you can check out the link to You Can Be Found and find out more about what SEO is and what Jeremy does. And I'll tell you, if you're sitting here and you're not familiar with SEO, if you're listening right now, you need to stay tuned because there's a lot there. And not only that, but Jeremy's going to share some insights with some new things he's just done, and we're going to talk about Google Plus, which is something that I learned about the other night, and an actual experiment that you did with somebody else who was a new technology they brought to you, and it's worked well for your business. So we're going to talk about all those things. So stay tuned, get your pen and paper out, and you're going to want to take some notes, unless you're driving, but you're going to want to take some notes and learn more and more about how to bolster your business through the internet. And again, I've heard the statistic over and over again, but I think the number is even higher. They say 88% of people will Google you before they do business with you. That may be before they even know you. That may be after they met you. But 88% of people, I think again it's higher, will actually Google you before they do business with you. So the question is, what are they finding when they Google your business? And what are they finding when they Google your name? I think both of those things are important, and you have to keep that in mind. You're listening to Tandem Radio. We're live here at the studios of Bridge FM, and we're also broadcast live on the internet at tandemradio.com. This is your host, Glenn DeLakin, here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back right after this.
2, 1, cut. Hi, my name is Cooper Ford from Tandem Radio, the good news on business. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. Hopefully you've been getting some fantastic insights from Glenn and our featured guest. While we're taking this break, I want to introduce you to our website at tandemradio.com, where there's a wealth of information focusing on bringing Christian principles into the business world. First of all, we have some of our other archive shows that are on there, where you can see some of our past guests and listen to their shows. Second, we also have Ask Tandem, which is our shorter video segments focusing on specific questions related to faith and the workplace. And finally, we have our sponsors, like-minded businesses and professionals who not only share our mission, but also who want to serve you. So check it all out at tandemradio.com. If you want to get in touch with us, you can also email us at info@tandemradio.com. That's info@tandemradio.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. So thanks again for joining us, and let's get back to Glenn and the show. God bless.
Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio Live. This is your host, Glenn DeLakian, here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our scriptures say, Ecclesiastes 12:10, the teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. Matthew 20:31, the crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. James 1:19, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. We're here today with Jeremy Skillings, who is the founder and owner of You Can Be Found, and he's got some great insights for us on SEO and some new technologies and so forth. So let's talk about that, Jeremy. Again, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Search engine optimization, a term that is foreign to some people, probably to too many people. If you have a website or have a business that has a website, a web presence in any way, shape, or form, and you do not understand SEO very well, you're missing a huge marketing segment. I can tell you firsthand. Our phones at my office ring regularly with people who just check this out on the internet. I would have never been in touch with them if it wasn't for Jeremy and his efforts. But Jeremy, let's talk about SEO. Explain a little bit give a little depth on that without going too crazy to a business owner that's out there listening right now.
Sure. SEO is really the art and science of getting people found in the search engines. I think the best way to make it simple is you think of the internet as a parallel to the real world, and there's a lot involved with that. A website is a storefront, but it's on the internet rather than having a store sitting at the end of town. Some of the things that the search engines look at valuable to your website are very similar to things that happen in the real world. The more other websites that link to your website make it stronger. That's kind of like out in the real world when people are referring you. When people know about you and refer you, you get a better reputation. Your website gets a better reputation when reputable websites send their users to you. So those are ways to help build your strength. And you want to target the content of your site to what your services and products are about. You find out what people are searching for, and that's really what I do best. Find out what people are searching for, and then sort of cater your content to those words, so when people are searching for it, it shows up higher in the search engines.
And this is something that you can take advantage of, right? It's not. I think a lot of people assume that the Google searches are just, luck of the draw sometimes, but you can actually, I don't want to say manipulate, but optimize, all right, search engine optimization. You can optimize the likelihood of where you're going to land and be seen by people, correct? Exactly.
It's just building up those factors. It's what, and I talk about Google, but I'm talking about all the search engines. But Google is the king, so that's what I tend to say. There are certain things that they look for and that they value more. So, for example, if you sell cars in New Jersey and you're trying to rank for when people type cars in New Jersey, you want to have cars in New Jersey on your site. You want it to show up on a headline on your page. You want to talk about cars in New Jersey on your page, and they look at that. So there are a lot of factors to put those in, and where you can manipulate sounds like a weird word, but it really is optimizing so that you're really targeting your page in the best way that you can, so that it shows up.
So you can help people. So when people do, search the web, and those pages come up, and there's 3 on the top, and 4 on the side, and 6 in the middle, whatever. I want to talk about that for a second. But you can help them to get to the right location in that.
Exactly. And it's really working hard to find the best terms that they can show up for. Because a lot of times a small business isn't going to just show up for cars, because that's a very competitive term. But a lot of times small businesses can show up for what they call the long tail keywords, which may be maybe you sell low-priced automobiles in New Jersey or something like that that's a little longer and a little less competitive. But in a lot of cases, people that are searching that know more about what they want than someone that's just writing cars in New Jersey anyway, and it'll actually convert to a sale a little quicker. So it costs a little less to rank for it, and you might not get as much traffic from that, but you are getting traffic, and you're getting traffic that tends to convert better.
There you go. And when people type these searches in these days, they're not just typing, like you said, they're just not just typing in cars, They might be typing in things like new cars in Monmouth County, or something like that, and those are the things you can really help them with.
Exactly. And in the last year or so, Google itself has almost done that for people by sort of locally putting search results in. If someone types in cars now, Google figures out what your IP address and where you're searching from, and they'll actually give you more local results. So they're getting even better. They call it universal search, and incorporating all those things that you might not even think about.
Right, that's pretty amazing. We're going to talk about Google a little bit more later in the show. But let's talk about that page when someone does a search, right? And there's 3 listings at the top of the page that are kind of sometimes in a gray or highlighted gray. And then there's like half a dozen down the right side, correct? And then there's some in the middle, right?
Correct.
Tell us what that means.
Okay, so on the top of the page and on the side of the page, those are advertisements, and they're typically shaded a little bit so you can kind of see. And it'll say ads or sponsored ads, depending on the search engine.
So the company pays for them.
Those are what's called the generic term for that is pay-per-click. The Google name for it sort of like Coke is a soda.
Right.
Google's brand name for that is AdWords. So a lot of people have heard of AdWords, and they don't always necessarily know what it is, but they've heard of AdWords. So that is based on pay-per-click. So if your ad shows up there, you don't get charged to necessarily show up there. You get charged if someone clicks on it. So you're paying anytime someone clicks on that ad, and then it takes you to your site. That is built on an auction-based system. So typically, at a very high level, the company that offers to pay the most shows up the highest on the page. So you're paying a little bit more to be that first one rather than be the one sort of 5th down on the right side.
Okay.
So that's primarily the way that works. There's a lot more complicated pieces to it than that, but that's primarily how that part works.
So do most people know that, or are they tricked by the fact that it just happened to be the top of the page?
It's interesting because studies have shown that people actually do know, although it's not necessarily obvious to them. They sort of inherently know that those are ads because they're a little more salesy, that type of thing.
Right.
People like me try to do a good job to make them not look as salesy, but the natural, or what they call the natural or organic listings, which are the other listings on the page that show up based on their content and the strength of their site, tend to actually get more clicks than the generic results or the AdWords results. So research shows that people do know the difference, but a lot of people, if you ask them, don't. So it's kind of complicated.
So those ones that are in the natural area, those are the ones that are more likely to be, I guess by popular demand, they are the more credible websites. And then the other ones, credible is probably not a good word, but the other ones have literally paid to be there.
Right, exactly.
And anybody could be there. But if you want to know who's really getting the activity and who's really the websites that have earned the right to be there through their quality of being who they are, that's we skip those first three, right? You go down
exactly.
to the ones in the heart of the. And what do you know any percentages of how many people hit each one of those?
I haven't seen numbers in a while, but it's typically the ads. If you know exactly what you're searching for example, if you're looking for a Toyota and you see a Toyota ad, brand type knowledge things, people will click on those more. When it's a little more generic, like cars and that kind of thing, then you're going to get a good majority of your clicks are going to those natural rankings.
All right, so obviously this intrigued you to a certain degree, and you created You Could Be Found. What about it really caught your eye to make a business out of it?
Well, when I left my corporate life, I was looking at actually buying a business, and just because my goal was to own a business and run a business. But as I did that, I looked at a company that I was looking into purchasing, and they had an extensive internet marketing campaign. And I wanted to analyze that to see how they're doing that, of course, before I would buy a company.
Right.
And as I did that, I really, really got motivated by what they were doing. I said, I love doing this more than I do what they're doing.
Right.
So it really intrigued me. I have a sort of a numbers background in doing the market research and that type of thing. And there's a lot to that, of understanding the statistics behind how often people search for different keywords, all the sort of factors involved in what the search engines look for, and putting that all together and then making an art out of it by actually applying it to someone's page.
Now, you mentioned this is an art and a science. I mean, this can be tedious, right?
Oh, it's extremely tedious.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain geeky quality to you that I have to really enjoy it and to like to do that every day.
And this is one of those things where don't try this at home kind of thing, right? I mean, I know I could never. I mean, you've tried to explain this to me. I'm a little dense, but I don't think this is the type of thing that the average business owner should really be spending his time on, right?
Well, there was a time when it was easy, back when it all started, and there was a lot less competition, and you could throw keywords into a little tag and you'd start ranking for it. But nowadays it is complicated, and unfortunately the rough part of that is there are a lot of people out there that take advantage of the fact that it's complicated, and my industry unfortunately has a lot of scammers in it, and I've heard a lot of bad stories of people that have been hurt by that.
Right.
Because, as you said, building a link campaign and getting links to your site, you don't know necessarily what they're doing and where the links are coming from, and Google can crack down on things like that. So you have to be really careful to always check references when you're working with someone that's doing SEO. It's not always, you can get affordable SEO done for you,
right,
but don't always just go for the lowest price. Make sure that they've done a good job for someone in the past, and it's not just some sort of scam.
And I think it's important to mention that there is literally Google Police, right? I mean, they're watching your every move.
Yeah, Google had, a year ago, they had what was called the Panda update, which wreaked havoc on all sorts of websites all around the world. That came from Google getting embarrassed a little bit by a couple companies that were actually unethically doing some link building campaigns, and I believe it was the Wall Street Journal wrote a story about it, exposing that these sites had done this and Google didn't notice. So that spurred Google to say, okay, now we're really going to shut a lot of this stuff down. And in some ways, for the past year, they've been doing regular updates, and in some cases they're killing an ant with a sledgehammer, but usually after a while they kind of tone back from it. But they're really taking a lot of the reward that unethical companies were getting out of doing SEO away, and I think in the long run, Google usually is doing the right thing, and they're going to take a lot of those unethical people out and make it actually work for people that are doing it the right way.
There you go. Well, that's so important to know, because if you are doing it or you're using an unscrupulous company to do it, you can really get hurt. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live, and there's some powerful information here today. Jeremy's filled with knowledge. I know we're not going to be able to scratch the surface of what he knows. But there's some new stuff out there, like I mentioned, Google Plus and some other things that Jeremy is working with and has worked on, that he can help you with your business. So stay tuned and learn more about how you can optimize the impact on the internet of your website, therefore optimizing your business on the internet, and it's a powerful thing to do. TandemRadio.com. Jeremy has promised me ranks high in the SEO world, and that's a place to go for a whole variety of information and things that can help you. So stay tuned. We're going to be back right after these messages. Well, welcome back to Tandem Radio Live. We're here with our guest, Jeremy Skillings, who's from You Can Be Found. We're talking about search engine optimization and some new technologies that can impact how your internet image is perceived on the search engines out there. And that is so important. If you're not taking the time to check into that, you could have your website out there just floating in nowhere land, and no one check it out. If you're not getting business directly from your website, you need to be talking to somebody like Jeremy who can make that happen for you. Jeremy, let's just touch on an interesting subject, and not to get crazy, but Big Brother, Google, YouTube, these guys, it seems like the world's becoming 1984 real quick. What's the deal there? I mean, is Google really Big Brother?
Well, I'd like to answer that, but I'm afraid of what would happen if you Google is a huge company, and they touch in all sorts of industries that a lot of people don't even realize they touch into. An example, and Google doesn't necessarily come out and say that they do certain things, so there's a lot of stories out there about ways they've affected different industries and that type of thing. One story that I've heard is that they jumped into Google Voice, which a lot of people may be familiar with. It's a voice over IP type of service. And there's a lot of companies out there that provided that before, and then suddenly Google decided they're going to offer it for free to a lot of businesses. And the backstory to that is a lot of people said that they jumped into that just to get recordings of people's voices so that they could apply that to people's videos and automatically translating voices into text from people's videos, which is a completely different industry. But the size that Google has, they can kind of dip their toe into things and experiment with things, and it's pretty amazing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for the most part, there's a lot of Google haters out there. I think for the most part, in the long run, like they've been doing with penalizing people that are unethical in the search engine optimization world, I think in the long run it usually pays off, and they've been pretty ethical and they've self-policed themselves pretty well. But you definitely want to try to give them what they're looking for, and if they are good enough to actually tell you something helps you, definitely take advantage of that and use it, because it's pivotal.
And they are pretty good at that, right? I mean, they do tell people, I mean, don't they have like free information on how to do all this stuff?
They have all sorts of information to tell you the rules. There are certain things that they're a little bit political about specifically acknowledging that they do certain things, but they'll definitely hint you or nudge you in the right direction. So if you're paying attention and you know sort of how to translate what they're saying, then they can be extremely helpful.
So will they be picking our next president?
I'm sure they will.
Yeah. All of a sudden my phones and internet's going to go off tonight. I'm going to be like, hey, how'd this guy figure that out? Anyway, so Google is, to a certain degree, all that, but they seem to be doing a good job of policing themselves. How does YouTube and Facebook fit into all this mix?
So that's an interesting question. YouTube is actually owned by Google, so it's one of those other things that they have a piece of, and that's one of those vague areas. Google won't specifically tell you that they give any sort of leaning or preference to YouTube videos. But when you go out there and search for things and videos come up, they're typically YouTube when it comes to Google. Right. So that's one of those situations you can kind of see from what's happening that maybe if you're going to do a video, you should have it on YouTube if you want it to show up in Google. Right. As far as Facebook is not a Google entity, and they actually don't necessarily always get along with Google. So the Facebook is huge, and as we talked about before, there's a parallel to the real world. If you're a big networker out and go to networking events and that kind of thing, Facebook is another version of that, only it's on the internet. So as a marketing opportunity, it can be, as long as you utilize it, a great tool. People that might go out to a networking event and just maybe grab the free piece of food and then leave aren't going to get as much out of it as someone that really uses it. So if you go on Facebook and you post something once and you're like, where's all my sales from that? It's not going to work. You have to invest in it. But as far as Facebook and Google go, they don't necessarily get along all that well. And in the past year or so, it's been kind of interesting on whether Facebook really gives you much help as far as, from a search engine optimization standpoint, ranking help and boosts in rankings. I think it's always good because there's a sort of social media factor to be out there and be doing the tweeting and that type of thing. But they are separate entities, so they're not as clear about how much Facebook helps.
But having a presence in both those arenas is important to your business as well.
I think it's important to be in all of those things, and what's really important, a lot of people go out and post to Facebook, but if you're going to post to Facebook and do it in a business way, you don't want to be overly salesy, but when you do talk about your business, put a link to your website in there, because it does help with that. It helps send those links towards your website and helps boost the strength. We don't know how much it does, and it may not be as much as other tools out there, but if you're going to do it, you might as well get the most out of it.
So working YouTube and working Facebook is going to inevitably have some positive impact on your website and on your web presence in general.
Definitely, and there's research that shows if you're going to do web videos, often what shows up is when you do a how-to or a why, or if you're answering a question with a video, that's when Google really likes to show videos.
Right.
So if you're going to create a video for your business, create a video that's answering some sort of question that your business can help. Not only does it show you as an expert and even add more to that to lend credence to your abilities, but Google tends to find those and they want to show those in the automatic results a little bit more than if it's just sort of a generic concept.
Outstanding. What about this new thing you mentioned to me this past week, Google Plus? What's that all about?
Google Plus is Google's version. It's sort of a Facebook and Twitter together. And the key thing with Google Plus is Google is very vague about a lot of things, but with Google Plus, they're right out there and say Google Plus matters to your search engine ranking. So if you create a commercial for television and the person that owns the network says if you do this free thing for 15 minutes a day, it'll make your videos, your commercials show up 100 more times a day. Wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, right.
So if Google's actually going to tell you, hey, this helps you show up, go out there and take advantage of it. I know people out there are saying there's 900 social networking things out there to use. Why should I use another one? Well, the reason why you should use this one is because Google tells you that it's actually going to help you a lot, and it's a really strong tool. And there are tools out there that can help you save time by actually posting to everything at once, and that can be critical if you don't want to have to go and write the same thing to 3 or 4 different places. You can find apps and ways to post the same thing to all the different.
So give me a little more depth here. What is the actual tool of Google Plus? I know using it obviously is an advantage, but what is it?
Sure. So Google Plus is another social networking
kind of like Facebook
site, very similar to Facebook, almost identical, except they put their own twist on it. When you get friended in Facebook, in Google Plus it's called circling, so you show up in circles. It's actually kind of handy. I like the way it interfaces with people because you can create different circles. You can create a circle of your business colleagues, and then you can create a circle of your friends. Like I was saying the other night, I'm a Pittsburgh fan, so maybe I have friends that I only talk about Pittsburgh with, and nobody else really wants to hear that. When I post something about Pittsburgh, I can choose, hey, just share this with the Pittsburgh friend circle, and then the other people aren't like, why is he talking about Pittsburgh all the time? So that, in that sense, it's really very similar, but there's a little bit of control over your distribution.
And where does LinkedIn fit into all this?
LinkedIn is yet another social networking tool, and much like Facebook and the others, it's how you use it. If you go out there and really commit to it and put time and effort into it, you can use that as well. LinkedIn is typically more business friendly. I find that it's a great way to make connections, and I recently did a little bit of an experiment with LinkedIn, and it's really been more receptive, I think, than some of the other things, as far as, because you're often dealing with other business owners and business people, and they feel your pain and that kind of thing, and they're a lot more friendly and open to your message than sometimes some of the more generic ways to do it.
And I know we're going to talk more in the next segment about LinkedIn, because I know you were blessed with connecting with a company called SmoozeMe, and they did some amazing things for you.
Yeah.
And considering you're an SEO, for them to take you to the next level was pretty exciting. So I know we're going to talk more about that. And if you're listening and you haven't heard of some of this new stuff, you're going to hear something very new that could be real impactful for your business in the next segment. Jeremy, let's step into another position at this moment and talk about your faith. And how has your faith directly impacted your business? Obviously, Christ has played an important part in your life. I know that. Tell me, how's your faith in Jesus impacted your business on it?
I think it's really, really important. As I talked before, I think my relationship with God has provided me with nudges here and there as far as the direction goes and as far as even starting my own business. But I think even more to that extent, faith gives you a moral compass that sort of, when you're going through tough times, that's what you can go to. And it makes you strong when maybe you're being pushed to do certain things. And in my industry, which is loaded with unethical things going on and opportunities, and it's loaded with unethical opportunities that your clients might not necessarily even know about because they have no idea. Right. It helps you be strong, and it helped me toe the line when I see somebody pass me in the rankings and I know they're doing it in an unethical way. I can hold true, and it's really actually paid off in recent months because Google is penalizing those people now, and I held true because my faith helped make me strong to stick to my guns and to be ethical and do the right thing for my clients. And now as I'm there and they're falling back below me and below my clients, it's really paid off. So I think it really helps you get through those tough times and hold true to yourself. And as you know, that can be really, really important when you're going through a tough time or whatever it might be in business.
Plus, it lets you sleep at night, right? I mean,
exactly.
I know a lot of people that don't get good night's sleeps, and it's funny because you mentioned that in your business, and there are certain businesses out there that are easier to cover up things or hide from the client. And of course, the word said, "Whatever's in the dark should be brought into the light." And integrity itself, I've heard it said, is integrity is what you do when no one's looking. But we know as believers that God's always looking, so we not only need to be on our guard for that, but if we truly love the Lord, we're going to walk in His light and in His path, not because we think some heavy hammer is going to come down on us, but because we believe in Him. Again, the scriptures say, Ecclesiastes 12:10, the teacher searched to find just the right words, and what he wrote was upright and true. When I read that, I thought of SEO. Because I know with you go out and you search, you try to find out what the words are for an industry and what works for you, and you've done that for us. And I know in your case, and what he wrote was upright and true really applies. Matthew 20:31, the crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. I want to talk in the next segment about shouting louder on the internet, that you have to get through all the noise, right? You said that before. And I've read some marketing books, and they talk about the noise of the internet and the noise of all the other distractions in marketing, and how do we cut through all that. And, of course, James 1:19, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. We'll talk more about how that relates to what we're talking about in the next segment. You're listening to Tandem Radio Live. Don't forget, TandemRadio.com is just a powerful resource, a place you got to go to get some good business advice, to find archived shows on topics that might be specific to your company or your business. If you're trying to start a business, you need to be listening here every Saturday morning. We have a lot of information. But at TandemRadio.com, you can find a lot of subjects specifically about business and where you're at. You can pull the shows up that apply to you and listen. You can also send your requests and questions to info at TandemRadio.com, INFO at TandemRadio.com, and find out all kinds of things that can help you to grow and learn, know the Lord better and how He applies to your business, how His Word, I should say, applies to your business, and so many other things. We'd love to be your resource here for business and help you in any way we can. Thanks for listening today and every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, welcome back. This is your host, Glenn DeLakian, with the good news on business. And that's what we're all about here every Saturday morning, sharing the good news on business and helping you to succeed no matter what the economy is or what's going on out there, giving you insights and direction from God's Word that will help you to grow and learn, and also give you things to take to work with you on Monday morning that you can use right in the office, or if you're like me, right after the show on Saturday morning, afternoon at the office. But we're talking here with Jeremy Skillings, who is absolutely, in my mind, an expert in search engine optimization. He has a company called You Can Be Found, which can help you be found on the internet. And we're talking about search engine optimization and so many other things, and we've got a lot to cover in this segment, so let's jump in. Jeremy, just real quick, do you need to spend a lot of money to make SEO effective?
That's a tough question. It's one of those it depends types of deals, but there are definitely steps you can take that at least get you out there that don't cost much at all. And then it's somewhat dependent on the competition out there. There are certain industries that spend a lot of money on it, and to be equivalent to that, you have to spend a little bit more than other industries. But I think you can definitely at least get out there and get your foot wet or your toes wet a little bit just with a smaller expense.
Right. I can tell you, you could get into this for hundreds of dollars a month, so it's not like it's killer. On the other hand, if you're seeing people telling you they can do it for $49.99 on the internet, don't bother.
Yeah,
I've seen so many of those out there. Let's talk about blogs real quick. How does that impact this whole scheme?
Well, that's really interesting because that's one of the big things that's happened most recently with Google. They've been penalizing sort of fake blogs for the people who have been setting up because of the importance of links coming into your site that we talked about before.
Right.
A whole industry went around building fake. It's easy to build a blog. You can go out to WordPress and build a blog, and a whole industry was built up of all these fake blogs to send links back to websites and give people link strength. So that's really what's been penalized the most recently. But with that in mind, blogs can be a good tool as long as they're real. If you're writing a blog that's regularly updating people about what you do, stories about things that you've done, that can be really helpful to your clientele and the people that want to hear about you and see what you do. It just needs to be a legitimate thing where you're actually writing to it and getting out there your message.
And if I could say from a marketing standpoint, if you do have a blog, don't let it get stale. A blog takes commitment. I mean, I write, as you know, I write a business column every month, and it's hard keeping up with that even sometimes. I mean, I'm months ahead. I like to be that way, but even that, when I know when deadline's coming, it's something to do. So if you're going to commit to a blog, if you're not going to update it every week, at least, if you're doing one of those blogs where every 6 months you're getting to it, you're wasting your time. But keep that in mind if you are going to go to blog route, or if you're doing blogs, you want to make sure that you're updating them, if possible, daily, but certainly weekly for sure. Let's talk about this experiment you had. You were blessed with literally winning at Tandem Network. And those of you who don't know, Tandem Radio also has a group called Tandem Network, and it's professionals, and we're expanding across the country. So if you have interest in business networking, exclusive business networking, you can also find that on tandemradio.com. And the Tandem Network is just growing like crazy, and we're excited about it. It might be coming to a city near you before you know it. But at one of our events, you actually won the opportunity to work with a company called Smooth Me. Why don't you tell us about that experiment?
Sure. And what a blessing that was. I actually wasn't able to make the meeting that night, and one of the neat things about that group is you can attend online. You can attend over your phone, that type of thing. And I was doing it that way, and I was lucky enough to win their service. And what they did was they took advantage of what I already had out there on LinkedIn. And that was one of those tools. There are all those tools out there that I probably hadn't spent enough time on because I'm doing so many other things, and never really took advantage of all the power of LinkedIn. And all they did was they came in and did what I should have been doing, and did it to a great effort, reaching out to the people in the different groups that I was a part of in LinkedIn, and just sort of introducing myself. Not in a salesy way, but in a soft way, just to say this is me, this is what I do, we have this in common, and just sending it out there to people. And then I got an amazing response, a response that I was telling them it's a good thing, but I was almost stressed because I was getting so many responses. I was like, when someone contacts me, I feel that I need to get back to them soon, and I was getting so many back. I was like, I don't know if I can contact all these people quickly. But it was really, really helpful because I think that form is, as I was saying before, people are open to that, and I had a lot of great conversations. I've had appointments that have come out of it, and I think it's really worked well.
Here you go, Al. You got to check that out. Get the people from Smoozy in here one week to tell us the details of what they do. But that was a great success for you.
Yeah, it was. We just did it recently, so I'm still meeting all the people, but I've had so much response that it's been really good.
Can you give us any insights of what's so unique about that technology? I mean, what are they doing that's making it hop?
I think really it's the LinkedIn experience is just a little bit different from a lot of the other social media because people on there are business people. A lot of them are there strictly for business, so they're more open to it. They're more understanding of what you're trying to do. And I also think their approach is really good because it is soft. It's not one of those here, call me for $9.99 or that kind of thing. It's hi, I'm Jeremy, this is what I do, I've helped other people if you're ever interested, one of those types of things. And I think people are more open to that, and it really helped helped it pay off.
I agree, and I think on LinkedIn especially, you get so much of that stuff on Facebook, you just ignore it, and certainly emails, you totally blow it
Right.
up. But on LinkedIn, I think it's a different story, and I got to look into that for myself. Let's talk about that. That was a great experiment, and obviously, what amazed me about it is that number one, you didn't know about it, and for someone in your position. There's always new stuff popping, right? And
Right,
it's crazy.
right. It never ends. We talked about Google Plus that came out, and that's a huge.
And I mean, we're talking about weeks ago, right? I mean,
Right.
This isn't something that's been out for a year, and Jeremy's just figuring it out. He's on the cutting edge of this
Right,
stuff.
right.
What is the future of what's going on? I mean, and I use that as a broad term because I don't know if I should say the future of SEO or how you would word that. But what's in store in the immediate future?
I think with the internet, a lot of what's coming down the path towards us is more mobilization, more localization, and more people doing it the right way, getting rewarded for that. As we talked about, a lot of the penalties, Google's really on top of that. But I think we talked about how Google is learning to automatically give you local results and that type of thing, even if you don't ask for them, because that's what works. And I think that's a big part. But I think the other part of it is everyone's got their iPads now and their phones, and they're searching on there. And I actually was online yesterday and found I think it was an AT&T study that came out that 30% of searches on their network are from mobile devices now.
Oh, really?
And that's growing. So, I mean, that's huge. So I think one of the big future things for businesses is to get out there and make sure you have a mobile site, or at least your site shows up in an okay way mobile. Because if you go out and you go on an iPad and bring up your website and it's horribly ugly and you have to scroll around it to get to the phone number, that kind of thing, it's costing you, because 30% of those searches that are finding you in that way now. So you need to look good when you show up that way.
And again, if you have a mobile device like a Droid like I do, if you go to search something and it either doesn't pop up timely or in the right place, or the site pops up and it's unreadable, it's like, scratch this one off my list. You're done. And there was you talk about point of sale, right? I mean, If you go to a supermarket, why do they have the candy right next to the cash register? Because they know your kid's going to grab it and stick it in the supermarket basket. It's the same way. I mean, we're literally at that, when you say localization, just to clarify, I think that really literally means putting right in front of you what you need when.
Yep.
And I had heard about this years ago, and it's amazing how it's coming to fruition, how, if you're a mobile device and you're searching something and you're sitting on the beach in the Bahamas, they're going to have a little advertisement for suntan lotion and bathing suits. And if you're on the ski slope in Aspen, all of a sudden something about skiing and lip balm maybe is going to come up. And it's amazing how they'll know where you are and they'll be sending stuff your way. They're already doing it. I'm blown away. I get sometimes I do a search of something and along the right side there's all kinds of Christian references, and I'm like, how did they know that? They must listen to Tandem Radio.
Exactly.
It's incredible. Anything else you want to touch on for the future? Because we're right there at the end of the show.
No, I think those are the main things. I think the localization of understanding where people are and providing those, people may see those maps when they're searching, providing those maps. That's another way small businesses can really take advantage. Make sure you claim your listing on Google. You can go in there and put your information about your business on there, and if you do it yourself, it's free. So get out there. If Google's giving you an opportunity to do something for free, do it.
And there you go. Some free advice on some free stuff from Google. You can't beat that for sure. There's so many more things I'm sure we could talk about here on this topic, but I want to express to our listeners that if you're sitting here right now and you're going, I don't have a clue what they just talked about, that's even more reason why you got to contact somebody like Jeremy, because if you're not doing it, your competition is doing it, and you're going to miss out. And sometimes things we get in on late, sometimes you get on cutting edge. It doesn't matter as long as you get in. That's the key. So if you have a website out there and it's not optimized, or you're using Facebook like crazy and you're not getting results, or LinkedIn and you're not seeing anything from it, believe me, the people that I've sat around the tables with, and Jeremy, I'm president of Business Association, involved with hundreds of business owners on a weekly basis. It's amazing how many I talk to, and they fall into two categories: those who are doing and those who are not. And the ones who are not are the ones who are complaining about the economy, and the ones who say they're not making money and they're working so hard and they're killing themselves. Don't get me wrong, there's no substitute for working hard, but it's the rewards there, right? And then the ones who are getting the rewards, who are seeing the results, like our company's business, our sales have doubled this year, and to see those types of results, it's because we're taking advantage of things that are out there and finding quality people like yourself who we can work alongside with. Now, you just deal with local clients, or you can cover anybody anywhere in the country?
I can cover. I have clients in Los Angeles, Chicago, all over the place. So as long as they're okay with not necessarily seeing me at their doorstep all the time, and that may be a good thing, I'm okay with it.
I don't need to see it at my doorstep. As long as people are emailing me, I know you're making it work for me. So, Jeremy, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
No problem. You listen to Tandem Radio Live here every Saturday morning. You need to tell your friends to get on Facebook and check out Tandem Radio. There's so much information there on Facebook as well. We'd like to hear from you on Facebook. I forgot to mention that earlier. And, of course, at tandemradio.com. INFO at tandemradio.com. info@tandemradio.com. Send us your questions, your concerns, your answers. We'd love to hear them, and we'd love to help you with your business. The Good News on Business here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you next Saturday with another great guest.
You've been listening to The Good News on Business, a Tandem Radio live broadcast heard here on the Bridge FM radio network and streaming at tandemradio.com. Don't forget to join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and call us and email us with your questions, because we'd love to hear from you. You can also visit our website for the latest blogs from Peter and Glenn, along with other information about upcoming guests, events, and business opportunities. I'm Kevin Reeves, and from everyone at Tandem Radio, we hope that you have a blessed week, and remember, walk with the Lord every day, in every way.